Hello, me again. I was meant to actually pause it and I stopped it by accident. So this is part two. Um, but anyway, so I went and I said, look, I really want to take a selfie for Ode and send it to her. And he looked at me and in French, I'll say it in English, in French, he said to me, Ode is dead. And my legs, and I said, what? Excuse me, because I had literally been in touch with her at Christmas. And he said she died a few weeks ago. And I just stood there. I couldn't even, my legs got really weak. Then he said, you better come in. So I go in, and then the American guy says to me, she took her life a few weeks ago. And I just couldn't get over it. I just couldn't get over it. So they went and explained what had happened. So she had issues. I didn't know any of this. You have to remember, things are superficial. I always thought she had the perfect life. And we do think that. I thought, like, well, she's the perfect life. Was married, works in law, comes from that beautiful home with beautiful parents, brothers that adore her. I know one of her brothers was killed in a car crash. He was crossing the road at a pedestrian light and it went green for him to cross and a car just knocked him down and he died instantly. He was only in his 20s living in Lyon. He was, I think, the eldest brother. So, but, so then I think there were two other brothers then maybe, and her, but she was the youngest and a girl. And he just said that she had been in hospital a few times to dry out. And I said, from what? And he said, alcohol. And I was like, alcohol? And he said she had a problem with alcohol and depression. So I was just flabbergasted. Can you imagine the shock? I mean, I was embarrassed that I was even there. I was thinking, oh my God, these poor people have to talk to me now and they're making me a cup of tea, and they were actually kind of supporting me now. So then the mother, Anne, wasn't there. I was like, where's Anne? How is she? And then she's brought in by a carer into the room to sit down. And she had, once Ode died, she never spoke again. She became mute. She just became mute. And she smiled and, the father explained who I was and everything. And she just smiled. And she had a stroke. So that's why physically she was being helped. And so they invited me to stay the night. And isn't it funny how intuitively I knew not to? I was afraid that if I had booked an Airbnb, and when you're staying for only one night, you have to pay for it. I was afraid that they wouldn't be there. It was sold. They were on holidays. They weren't there. And I didn't want to stay around in the middle of nowhere. And then I thought, I might go there and they mightn't remember me, or they mightn't be that friendly. So I might just say, it was lovely seeing you, and get the hell out of that area as well. Because I just thought, and I'll go somewhere else where there's, a lot of people or whatever. So anyway, he said, will you stay? We have the B&B, but it's, whatever. And I was a bit kind of, I didn't want to put them to any trouble at all. And he said, everything's prepared. Everything's there. Please stay. So I said, okay, anyway. And then, as most people know, I'm vegan. And he wanted to prepare food. And I said, I can go to shops. I can go anywhere and get us food and bring it back, blah, blah, blah. No, he was going to prepare food. And I hadn't the heart to say I don't eat meat or cheese. And so I had to eat little bits of bacon and oh my goodness, and a lot of cheese and stuff like that. And so that was that. And then I went to bed, and he just explained what had happened. And it was a very sad story, because I think, like, you know, her boyfriend or the first husband or something was kind of blaming the parents a bit, and I'm sure all that goes on, you know. But he said, look, please stay. After they brought me to the church where she got married, and it's a church that was an old ruin, and he did it up, because there's a special name for it, but he's allowed by the government to do up these amazing buildings, because he's a genius. And brought me to this, I mean, ancient, like hundreds and hundreds of years old. This church goes way back. So that was that. And I went to bed and I couldn't sleep. So I went outside, and in the middle of the night you could hear, like, literally you could hear foxes, owls, rustling, squeaking, all these noises. And I was standing there, and this might sound really strange. I was standing outside, and I was like, why am I here? I cannot believe. I was in shock. And I couldn't believe this is the place that I've dreamed of all these years. All these years I've dreamed of this place. I've dreamed of her parents, which I was so delighted they were alive. Well, you know, and then she wasn't. But, and then I got this chill over me, and I was like, she called me there. She called me there. And the reason I feel she called me there was because I didn't know what else to do in my life but disappear. I was quite suicidal coming up to that. I just didn't know where I was going to live if something happened, Mum. I was very frightened something would happen, Mum. I was very frightened of the way the dynamics of my family were working out, and my family were just turning against me, and it was really frightening for me. And I didn't see any other option but out. So I was trying my best to keep going and do whatever. And I think maybe I went to France to see, was it an option to go back there, or I don't know. I really don't know. I was just drawn, and my friends were saying, why are you going back? You haven't been there since you were 15, and you haven't even told them. That's really strange. And you haven't told your friend Ode, and you haven't done this. And I kept saying, why don't you tell her? And I kept saying this, I have a gut feeling not to say anything to her. I don't know why, not to contact her, just to go. And then I went, and obviously she wasn't there. And I believe she called me there because I saw the destruction, well, not the destruction, just the sadness and the grief. And I thought, and it was like she was saying to me, Niamh, live your life. Don't throw it away. Don't leave. Stay. And it was such a, strong feeling. And I really felt her there, but it was really weird being there and she wasn't. It was like I was, I don't know, gate crashing something. So anyway, the next morning I woke up, had breakfast. The father had to go off to the doctor, and I just said to him, look, I'm going to head off now. I didn't want to outstay my welcome. I said, I will come back. And I'd planned to go back in a few months, and then it didn't work out like that. A lot of things happened. So then I was literally like, okay, I have another week. Well, I do a week all in all. And I was like, what am I going to do? So I just said, you know what? The weather was crap. It was May. It should have been nice. And I thought, I'm going to drive down to the Riviera. Miles. I mean, far. Hours. And I said, I'm going down to the Riviera, and I'm going to go to the place where I went when I was 17 on an exchange. And that's what I did. So I went down to Saint-Maxime, which is next door to Saint-Tropez. And I went all the way down there. And well, first I went to this other place where it's beside Saint-Tropez, it's the other side of Saint-Tropez. And during COVID, I had reconnected with a guy I had met on the beach. Now, when I say for an hour, there was a group of us, like it wasn't anything romantic or anything like that. There was a group of us on the beach. We all hung around. It was the 14th of July because all the fireworks and everything. Met these guys. They gave me their addresses. In those days, you gave addresses and phone numbers. I looked them up. I still had the addresses and everything in my address book. And I looked him up on Facebook. I found him, couldn't find the other two. And we started chatting, and he owned a bar on the beach, had a daughter, little girl about 6, and he had a house on a vineyard, something like that. So I thought, you know, I'll go down and I'll look for his bar on the beach, say hello again, not telling anyone. So I got a parking spot, which is amazing, in the little beautiful village. Oh, I can't think of the name of it. It's absolutely stunning. But I mean, you'd have to be very wealthy to live there. Got a parking spot, went in, had a coffee, sitting outside looking at everything going, like all tourists. Absolutely stunning place, beautiful weather. I was like, this is what I need after the news I've got. So I went off and I decided to walk the beach and find him. So I'm walking along the beach and I'm looking for his bar, and I'm asking people, you know, I'm saying, is there a bar called this? No. Is there a person called this? No. So I'm like, how am I going to find him? He doesn't exist. And I walked and walked, and I must have walked for, I don't know, 45 minutes along this beach thinking, what am I doing? And this sounds really strange. I'm walking along and I see a guy standing on the beach looking at people. There was some competition or some, I don't know, there were people in the sea. And I just went, that's him. Because remember, I'd seen him from Facebook recently, you know. And I just went, hi, Sharon, how are you? And he looked at me and he went, do I know you? And I said, yes. And this was in French. And then he went, are you Irish? And I said, yes. And he went, oh my God. And I went, hi. And gave him a hug and kiss, you know. And then he said, come with me. This is my bar. So I was at his bar. And all his friends were there. There was a big party. And he said to them all, this is my friend Niamh from Ireland. She came for my birthday. And I'm like, it's your birthday? And he was like, yes. He gave me birthday cake and everyone was celebrating. And it was just so lovely. And I sat with them and I chatted and, you know, and then he was telling me that he had a couple of bruises. And I said, are you okay? What happened? And he said, oh, I fell. And I went, oh. And he said, yeah. He said, when I drink a lot, I fall. And so we started talking, and he was saying that I said, do you drink a lot or something? And he said something like, well, it's been a problem with girlfriends. They think I do. I don't think I do. And I said, and could you stop when you tried? And he said, yeah, I could stop, no problem, blah, blah, blah. So I kind of thought to myself, he might have a bit of a drinking problem, and he has a bar. But so he would have been about, at the time, I'm going to say about 48 or something like that, maybe 48, 49. Very nice guy, lovely friends, everything else. So then he said, where are you staying? And I said, I'm staying in Saint-Maxime. Now, I'd nowhere to stay. I'm staying in Saint-Maxime, I said. So then I decided, so I said to him, I have to go. So I went off anyway, got my car, and said, I better find somewhere. So I sit in my car and I'm looking up places to stay. And oh my God, where he was living, I was kind of thinking, will I stay in that little area? Which is only 15, 20 minutes to where I was going to stay. Oh my God, like 2,000 a night, 1,500 a night. I was like, oh. So then I looked at Saint-Tropez. No. And then I found Saint-Maxime was off the wall as well. I was like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? I'm down on the Riviera. And then I found this place for, I can't remember. I'm going to say something like, well, 60, 70 a night or something. And it was absolutely perfect. It was this little kind of shed at the back of someone's house in their garden, very private, blah, blah, blah. It must have been the first letting because everything was spotless. It was beautiful. It was perfect. Didn't have a TV though. But so I stayed there a couple of nights and the door didn't lock. The back door didn't lock. Oh, I was thinking of all these like I thought, oh, the guy who owns it, he's going to come in now and murder me tonight and everything else. It just didn't. And I had to just pray that I'd be alive the next day. But the back door didn't lock. No lock on it at all. Like, and yeah. So I stayed there and I went back the next day to say goodbye to him. And that was nice, said goodbye to him and all the rest. And it was during the day and he was really drunk and all his friends were really drunk. And I was like, oh my God, he's a whole summer of this. So that was nice. And I did loads of stuff. I mean, I did stay in Saint-Tropez for 3 weeks. Well, not Saint-Maxime, sorry. I didn't. I stayed there for probably maybe a week or two because the family I went to when I was 17, they were from Lyon. So we went from Lyon, their lovely home, to an apartment there. And they had a yacht and everything. And when I was there with them, I was never grounded in my life. I was actually grounded. That noise is my dog eating paper. But it's funny. Then I went looking for this tiny little beach. And I parked my car, got out of the car, and there was the tiny beach. Oh, I mean, it was just all miraculous. Then I went into the church in Saint-Maxime, and they have this huge, beautiful statue of Mary Magdalene. I adore Mary Magdalene, and it was just a beautiful place to walk around and to be. And I went for a lovely dinner that night and met lovely people in the cafe that day, like taking my number. Oh, if you want to meet up or come and stay another time, like couples and everything, lovely people. So that was my trip. May 2 years ago and then I drove all the way back straight up to the airport and came home. But it was quite a shocking thing. And I wanted to say about that guy I met, the Patrick guy, people thought he was thing. So I said to myself, because I'd asked him, I said, you know, have you ever thought of getting help for your alcoholism? And he said, sure, there's nothing here. There's absolutely nothing. So I came back and I just thought about the three kind of people I met down there, the three significant people. Well, not that I met, like Ode, and she died, the way she died. And then there was that man who said he's just in the bar every single day in Vence, that man in the kind of the little cafe. And so I just thought, there's nothing for him, and then there's nothing. So I did so much research, absolutely so much research when I came back, and I decided I want to set up a treatment centre. And that led me to where I am today. So it's all kind of linking in, but I will continue my teen years from say 15 on next time. So I hope you enjoyed that. I really enjoyed telling you. I hope it's making a bit of sense. It'll all come together. But next time I will talk about from 15 on and see where we get to. Okay, take care. Have a lovely evening.